So welcome to the Node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for July 24th, 2019. We'll follow our standard agenda, which was as posted in issue number 734 in the TSC repo. To start with, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? Nobody else has any. The one that I would share is that the OpenJS board meeting is happening tomorrow. I checked the board. I don't see any issues there, and I don't have any other issues that have been raised by the Node.js project at this point. But if there is something urgent, let me know, and we'll see what we can do in terms of getting it on the agenda.
So I guess I'll add that, I mean, this is not the type of thing that needs to be announced in the TSC meeting, I suppose, but 12.7.0 was released yesterday, I think, sometime in the last 24 hours. So hooray.
No, that's always good. The other thing I did think I'd mention, it's good for TSC member awareness, but also for other people just in general, is there is a good distribution list for the OpenJS CPC discussions. So if you're interested in kind of keeping up with what goes on there, Jory's been sending out a nice sort of summary of what was discussed in the last meeting. So I'd recommend, if you have an interest in following what's going on, that's a great way to sort of stay up to date with what's going on day to day. Any other announcements?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I think so. Yeah, so over in the admin repo, I am running, or like quote unquote running, but doing sort of an audit of our Google account access. So that might be of interest. I'll leave a link to it.
So doing review of YouTube. Okay. Any others? No. Okay. So let's move on to the issues that were tagged for the agenda. The first one is issue 25461 in the Node.js repo. I improved next tick performance. We did try and get some of the key people involved there to see if they could make the meeting. One of the participants said he couldn't make it, but also that probably didn't have anything else to add. And our other TSC member who's involved there isn't available. So I think we'll have to defer that till next meeting. I think, Rich, you put it on the agenda. Does that sound reasonable?
I think actually Brian White put it on the agenda, I think. Let me see.
No, okay.
It was me. No, wait, then I removed it. And yeah, Brian added it.
Okay, so Brian added it back. Okay.
I think he's actually, he's of the opinion that he and Anatoly are at an impasse. And okay. I think that might be why he, just said, I said everything I need to say.
Okay.
I mean, the impression I'm getting. So this may be headed for a vote if they both feel that way. I don't know. But we got to, be nice to at least talk to Anatoly. So let's, it's not time sensitive. So let's let it ride until we can get a hold of Anatoly.
Yeah, okay. I think we should really wait for Anatoly because he said once that he was against something in the PR, then a lot of changes happened. And now I don't know if he still objects to the current state.
Yeah, and it's even more complicated because I think he recommended some changes which were added but then later removed. So
yeah, I think that's what happened. So yeah, let's yeah, it'd be great to have him take a look at it.
Okay, so we'll defer till next week or until we get a hold of Anatoly to comment. So unless it gets resolved, we'll have a reminder to try and follow up on that.
Right. So we'll leave the agenda tag on there and we'll move on.
Yep. Sound good to everybody? Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is under TSC 718, which is nominating Bethany to the TSC. Been quite a bit of discussion. I don't know if we need to discuss that in the meeting. It was actually tagged for the agenda for the final vote, but because of the IBM acquisition of Red Hat closing, we're over numbers. So maybe I should just take the tag off until we come to a conclusion in the issue itself. What do people think?
I think you can leave the tag on there. I think,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to leave it on as well. Like, or, and if, you know, if you want to, if there's, you know, you think we should talk about that, we could spend some time because we have a light agenda today.
Yeah, it's
Just to
actually
be clear for posterity,
Go ahead.
IBM is not presently over capacity. It would be over capacity if we nominate someone else that was from IBM.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if we bring Beth on, then we would be over numbers, right? And so that's where we were, you know, I was exploring, like, you know, could we do something like a rotation? The other, you know, other suggestions have been to bring somebody else on.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about this in the private segment.
Okay. I'm happy with that. Any objections to that?
No, I just wanted to say sorry for not getting back to you about on the thread about the rotation bits.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, okay. So we've had some discussion. We'll discuss further later on in the meeting. Let's move on to the next one, which is tracking issue for updating TSC board meetings. I will be going to the first boarding meeting this week. So like I said, my only thing now is to say, you know, is there anything that you want me to take there? Otherwise, when I come back the following week, I'll report on what I can. And the last issue that's tagged is number 423, our strategic initiatives. So I'm going to open that up. The one thing I will start out with, just because we've had a more recent discussion on that, and I think makes sense to have a little bit of visibility discussion on, even though we're not quite ready, is the Python, the forward progress on Python and 3 and JIP. I had open an issue in the repo suggesting that we, make sure that we have a path for C. Klaus, who's actually doing a lot of the work, moving that forward to be able to be enabled and report and highlight issues that need help in this forum. We do have Sankt Priyan as a champion, but I think just due to timing and whatever, we haven't had a lot of reviews of actual progress there. What's been suggested is that Klaus is going to provide a file which highlights, what he thinks is important for us to know, and we'll review that as part of the strategic initiatives review, like that we're going through today. And we don't have that yet. So, but next meeting we should have that in place. Does that make sense to everybody? I think the key thing is, we're 2.7 support goes out of support at the end of this year, so we're down to like 167 days or something. So it is something that's good to have some focus on. Okay, so then let's go through the list of initiatives. And starting with, I'm just going to look through. So NAPI, we just had a new release yesterday. Did have of Node.js on API. We did have a regression that we need to quickly fix up, but definitely thanks to Nicola who jumped on that and quickly turned that around. Otherwise, we're still waiting to see if any of the talks got accepted for Node Coffee U or Node plus JS Interactive. Looking down through the list. So Jeremiah, the next one on the list is the Streams Initiative.
Yeah, so I've had some time to dedicate to this, and so made a decent amount of progress. I will link it. I posted another progress update, finally. So there's automated tests in this for now, and there's a bunch more helpers that make composing everything nicer, and those are pretty minimal code-wise, but certainly help the end user experience. There's adapters that are currently in pull request, waiting for some more review for being able to talk to Streams 3 from these APIs. And I'm also trying to organize a bit of a meeting around this effort to see kind of where we're at, and hopefully get people together to discuss some of the tougher things. There's some significant discussions in issues that are maybe a little bit stalled right now, but there's a lot of information there. And we'll probably be looking to move it into the Node.js org pretty soonish, I think. That's my take anyway.
Continuing down the list, V8 currency, Michael.
Yes, everything is fine. Nothing special to say.
Okay.
Is it possible that V8 currency is no longer like an active initiative? It's just something that now happens, or is that a little too optimistic?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's always been like that, I think.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I can see it not being in a strategic initiative. It still strikes me as something though that we'd want to like touch on and say, are things green or not on that front? And as we go through this list.
Yeah, I don't mind having to say if it's good or not every other week.
Anyway, maybe we can take that to a separate discussion.
No discussion, just asking, yes or no, it's fine.
Okay, going through the list for people who are here, I think build resources is the last one on the list.
Yeah, so me and you, Michael, Dawson, and Rod and I have talked a little bit about possible ways forward. There's some stuff that throws that creates other possibilities that that we can't yet talk about, but hopefully soon. And I don't really have anything to report other than that, like, I've been moving it very slowly forward, but it has not stalled. But I don't have any meaningful progress to report on this week.
Okay, so that was the list on for the review. In terms of other issues, I guess before we close out and move to the private section of the meeting, are there any other issues that people want to bring up and discuss? If not, I'll say thank you for everybody for coming, and for those watching on the stream, I'm going to stop the live.